So what's going on, y'all? So it was hot today. It was hot. So I'm here. I live in Middle Georgia, and if you live in the southeast like I do, then you know that in the summer it gets hot. This year in particular has been a hot one, and I've been doing this hill sprints challenge that I started about a week ago. By the way, if you want to join, the link is in the description. And my goal is to get 500 hills in for the month of August. Because I love hill sprints. I love hill sprints. I think they're great for leg muscle and all that kind of stuff, and for cardio and for fat burning and just overall power. But for me to hit my goal, I'm having to do hills a couple of different times of the day, because I do them like 3 days a week, and I had to do them like at least twice a day. And I've been out in some serious heat. Today it was about 93 degrees, and at least that's what it said in my car. But here I am suggesting to you that you should consider exercising in the heat. Now, it probably sounds kind of not smart, but just understand what I'm saying. Now, keep in mind, I'm not telling you to go out there and hurt yourself. Obviously you need to use wisdom. I'm not telling you to do anything that would put you in harm's way. But just hear me out on this. So you've probably heard me, if you watch a lot of my videos, you've probably heard me talk about something in a couple of the videos called hormesis. It's something that I've heard, a few people talk about, that I listen to, Andrew Huberman, um, Dr. Mark Hyman, and others. And hormesis is a phenomenon where when you subject your body to micro stresses, where you subject your body to just enough stress to stimulate um, adaptive mechanisms in your body. When I say adaptive mechanisms, I mean mechanisms that your body has on the inside to allow it to adapt to stressful circumstances, so that next time it encounters those circumstances, it comes back better and more able to do them, um, you know, more easily. Okay. And so obviously this is a good thing, and it can actually result in not only you being better able to withstand a stress, but it also is good from the standpoint of overall health. It tends to be, at least. It tends to kind of increase overall health, perhaps even longevity sometimes. So, if you ever exercised before, exercise is a prime example of a hormetic type stress. For example, lifting weights. You take a weight intentionally and you lift it, and it's kind of beyond what your normal capacity is. It's not so much that it actually injures you in some sort of way, but it's pushing it. Maybe you lift really heavy weight, or maybe you lift moderate weight a lot of times, and you really fatigue and tire out those muscles. And what happens is that stimulates your body to pay attention, and your body's like, hey, so this happened. So now what we need to do, we need to kind of bring some more, we need to kind of increase strength. We need to increase muscle. We need to increase muscle endurance, so that next time we do this, we're going to be um, better able to do it. But there are various other examples aside from exercise. I mean, you have different kind of exercise like cardio as well, strength training. You have ice baths. That's something you see a lot of athletes do, and it helps them to recover because it stimulates blood flow in a way. It's very, very shocking to the system because your body literally has to like really ramp up circulation. But better circulation means better healing. You have saunas. Saunas induce like a hormetic type stress. You have fasting, where you fast for a day or two, or even a part of a day, and it causes your body to adapt in a certain way, such that it actually helps to improve health. So this is true. The reason why I mention all of this is because I want you to understand that your body has been made to adapt to stressors. Like, your body, this is how we've survived all this time, because our bodies have mechanisms that allow us to adapt. If you couldn't adapt to heat or cold, now obviously you got to use some brain power in there too. You have to, it's not just your body's physiological mechanisms, but it's those are some of the things that help to ensure the survival of the human race. Okay. So um but yeah, so this is part of the reason that we've survived all this time. However, in today's society, I don't know if you understand or really recognize this, but we have very little, um compared to previous generations. We don't often subject ourselves to hormetic type stresses because we live in a society that has taught us, it's made us very comfortable, and it's taught us to always seek comfort, and taught us to have the mindset of, if it's not comfortable or if it's uncomfortable, I should avoid it. Okay. So for example, air conditioning, desk jobs, grocery stores, automobiles and planes, getting food delivery, car washes, elevators and escalators, and the list goes on and on and on and on, drive-throughs. So don't get me wrong, it's great. A lot of these things have really, really kind of enhanced our ability to live as people. But there is a catch to a lot of this, and it has to be mentioned, because I think that a lot of times whenever this kind of thing is mentioned, the automatic thought is, I mean, what are we supposed to do? Just kind of live like in a more primitive way? Like, why would we do that? Like, I agree. Like, I think a lot of these things are good, but you gotta understand that there is a catch to this stuff. There is. Like, there were times that we used to have to do a whole lot more for ourselves. We used to have to grow our own food. We used to have to, um, walk distances to get to places and stuff. And um, so I'm grateful that we don't have to do a lot of that stuff. But at the same time, part of me wonders a lot if it's hurting us sometimes way more than we realize, and if it would help us to return back in that direction to a degree. Because here's the thing, we are so conditioned in our society to seek the easy route, um, that we also end up underestimating our abilities to actually endure physically hard things. We avoid physically hard things, and we think that we're doing ourselves well, but we're actually doing ourselves worse. This is one of the reasons why, a lot of times, as we get older, muscle loss tends to occur, sarcopenia, and especially the older that you get. And what happens is, losing muscle becomes actually quite risky, if you will. It becomes kind of dangerous. It kind of results in a lot of falls and stuff, especially when you start to get into maybe, especially the 80s and stuff like that, maybe even before then. But we're losing muscle, we're losing bone, we're losing our abilities to like have good blood flow and respiration, and um but it's all because we've learned to be so comfortable, and we underestimate our ability to endure physical hardship. Um our convenient living is undoubtedly connected to disease. Period. Undoubtedly. Undoubtedly, the American lifestyle, unfortunately, is toxic. It is. And I'm not saying that trying to be like some sort of, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. But it just is what it is. It is what it is. So every now and then I go look at statistics, that have to do with rates of disease and disorders and stuff like in the US versus around the world. So when I first started doing this health and fitness stuff, I remember that the overweight rate, that includes overweight and obese. Overweight rate was about two-thirds of the population. So that's roughly 66, 67%. Now it's about just under, I think, 75% last time I checked. So about three quarters of our population. Now, keep in mind, certified as a personal trainer and doing a lot of this stuff for like about 10 years now. And it's grown tremendously. You're talking about growth of maybe 6, 7% in about 10 years. That's that's crazy. Okay. But what's even crazier is when you compare that to the obesity rate, I mean the overweight rate in a place like Japan. About 25%. 25% of the population being overweight versus in our country, 75% of the population being overweight. That is just that's incredible if you really think about that. So like that's why I say in go study the Japanese lifestyle if you ever get a chance. You study it. Do that and then just kind of see how different it is. See how even like government kind of tends to encourage healthy living and stuff like that. So check that out. All right, look at this. So when I was on my engineering job, one of my coworkers, he was Vietnamese, like he was born and raised in Vietnam and immigrated here to United States at some point. And he said that when he first got over here, he experienced lots and lots of nosebleeds. And the reason why he was experiencing a lot of nosebleeds is because he was not used to the air conditioning here. Now, we've had air conditioning for forever, But like over in Vietnam, I guess when he was coming up at least, they didn't have air conditioning like that. Now keep in mind, I don't know how much you know about Vietnamese uh I guess culture and whatnot, or I don't mean culture, but I mean more so like climate. But apparently, from the little I know, Vietnam is hot and humid. It's kind of like here, but I've heard it could even be worse than here. Okay, so imagine living there having no air conditioning, but that's what you're used to. What's my point? We can't imagine not having AC and all that kind of stuff, but like it's only because we have not allowed ourselves to be adapted to that. We just don't know that, but you could adapt to that. You could. You just can't really imagine it now because you haven't. Okay? And so this is what I say. A lot of times when it comes to subjecting ourselves to physical stresses like what I'm talking about, going outside and exercising even in the heat sometimes, we say, "Oh, I can't do that. I couldn't do that. I can't do that." But when you really think about it, it's not that you can't do it because you actually can. It's more so that you've kind of made the decision that that's something that you won't do. So understand what I'm saying. I'm not trying to bash you if you've said anything like that or if you've kind of been iffy. I promise you I'm not. But I'm wanting to challenge you though. Here's the thing. Our tendency to seek comfort is making us unhealthier and it's also keeping us from reaching our goals. Like you may have a goal to whatever your body goal is, your health goal is, you know, and but whatever it is, your can'ts are probably holding you back from that. The things you said you can't do. You said you can't put down candy or sweet tea, or you said you're not gonna go. I don't know. You would never go to do an exercise class, or you're not gonna park further away from the store when you go. Like these are the can'ts. Um, because here's the thing. Think about this. I've been watching the Olympics here and there, and it's great. You see all these just amazingly physically capable athletes and whatnot, and we marvel at them and whatnot. And then we look at them as different than us. But like I was looking at it was the lady who won the long jump this year. I can't remember what her name is, but like I saw something talking about her and her husband, who's also an Olympian, training. Was it like was it about 3 or 4 hours a day? 3 or 4 hours of training a day, and then about an hour, 1 to 3 hours every day of recovery. Think about that. Okay. So like we look at them and it's just kind of think of them as doing things that we could never do. But what would happen to you if you worked out like 3 or 4 hours a day? What would happen to you? Think about that. You know? So all that said, let me get back to the subject of this video. You could exercise in the heat. And there are reasons that you should do that. One, I mean, it's just good to be outside. It provides an extra stress to your body, given that you're smart about it. That will help you to get fit faster, and adapt to the heat. Just remember, you got to be careful. You know, when I run hills out in the heat, I take a lot of breaks. I've hydrated, to some degree beforehand, and I don't push it. Once I start to get really tired, like I really listen to my body, I go stand in the shade, and kind of wait. And then whenever, I'll stop sooner than I would if it were not so hot. So what I'm saying is you can do it if you take the proper precaution. You can do it, and it can actually be of benefit to you because it provides you with hormetic stress. The other thing is the production of vitamin D when you're out in the sun. Vitamin D being one of the most health protecting vitamins, is really more of like a hormone, but one of the most health protecting substances that you can have in your body, that your body will produce plenty of when you go out in the sun for periods of time. Now, of course, you have to be responsible with your sun exposure as well. But then also the thing with that is you need to eat a good diet, because I've heard that eating a healthy diet in conjunction with sun exposure is really where you get more of the benefit. When you have a diet that's kind of filled with junk, then it tends to kind of, again, this is what I've heard, and I probably need to provide a source for this, but it tends to kind of open you up to the more harmful effects of sun exposure, because your diet doesn't have a lot of antioxidants. Okay. So anyway, I've kind of gone on long enough. I'll say this again. Your can'ts are most likely keeping you from your most healthy body, from the body that you want, from the health that you want. So never say that you can't do it. Just really examine. If you decide you don't want to do it, that's one thing. But keep in mind that if you've been struggling to get to a certain place in your body, certain place in your health for a long time, it's probably your can'ts that are in the way. If you like this content, you might also be interested in one of my books. Learn how you can take steps literally today to successfully manage, control, and overcome common issues such as high blood pressure, diabetes, and belly fat. It's all about putting power back in your hands to improve your own health. Get your book copy today by the links in the description or by visiting SeanMcClendon.com/books. Also, don't forget, hit the like button and subscribe, and join my email list at SeanMcClendon.com/subscribe.